Was the shooting of Renee Good illegal? Last Wednesday, during a protest against ICE, an ICE agent named Jonathan Ross shot a protester named Renee Good. What we've seen actually is the Trump administration very quickly stand by Ross.
I know that officer was acting in self-defense.
And to say that Renee Good was in the wrong.
This was an act of domestic terrorism.
That is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power.
The way we determine whether an individual action like that was a crime in America is, of course, we have a trial and a jury determines it. But there are a lot of obstacles before Jonathan Ross could even be put on trial. We don't expect federal prosecutors to bring charges. So if the prosecutors find a reason to bring charges, we would expect those to be state prosecutors. But federal authorities are refusing to share evidence with the state authorities at the moment. That's going to make it all the more difficult for state authorities to decide whether to even try and charge Ross. If state prosecutors decided that they did have probable cause, they would charge him. Ross's lawyers would probably seek to move the case into federal court in what's called a removal proceeding. And then they would almost certainly invoke a part of the Constitution called the Supremacy Clause, which bars the prosecution of a federal agent by a state authority if they were doing their job in a way that was quote unquote necessary and proper.
Shame!
And we've seen this kind of thing happen before. In 1992, Idaho prosecutors wanted to charge an FBI sniper for a shooting at Ruby Ridge. And the sniper's lawyers invoked the Supremacy Clause. They said, you can't prosecute our guy. Eventually, an appeals court said, no, a prosecution can actually go forward. But at that point, the prosecution was actually dropped, in part because so much time had passed litigating this issue. But let's say prosecutors get past that Supremacy Clause obstacle. Then you would actually get to, potentially, a trial phase. And even a trial phase in this situation would be really hard for prosecutors. Law enforcement officials have tremendous bandwidth to act in the line of duty, particularly when they feel that they or someone else is in danger. But there are a couple different things that could be favorable for prosecutors. And one is a Supreme Court ruling that came out just last year. And it found that when judges, when juries are considering these types of events, they have to consider the full context of what happened to really understand whether it was reasonable to use force. And that means that in this particular instance, if Ross were to be prosecuted, a jury could consider what Good said to him.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
Another thing that might help the prosecution is that a jury would have to find that all 3 shots were justified. So it's not enough for Ross to have felt that his life was in danger the first time he fired his gun. He fired 3 times. All 3 of those shots a jury would have to find were justified. It is possible that state authorities will bring charges against Jonathan Ross, but if they decide to do that, it will be a really difficult road for them, and there's no telling what will actually happen.